Welcome to American Scooter. Hey, check it out. I'm finally working on something other than a P-Series scooter for once. Today, I'm getting after this lovely orange lady you've been seeing hanging around my shop. This is a 1974 Femsatronic Rally 200. Now, a little history on this old lady. It belongs to my friend, Val. Now, this Rally was purchased by my scooter club to be raffled off at our rally, the 6th annual Big Easy Weekend, or BEW. So you'll notice BEW 6 embroidered on the back of the seat, and you'll also see the number 6 painted on the leg shield. We got this scooter from a guy I'll call Barry. Barry had it as a basket case, originally blue, but I'm pretty sure this was actually originally white and someone just painted it blue. And the body and the paint were pretty beat. He had the engine rebuilt by a guy somewhere in the US. So we take her home and have the scooter professionally painted by a guy who had done several scooters for us. We assemble it and ultimately raffle it off at our rally. The winner sells it to its current owner, my friend Val. So Val calls me up one day and says the scooter's been revving out of control when it comes to a stop. Well, that generally means one thing. It's got an air leak. It's when the engine is getting too much oxygen into the fuel mixture and it causes the engine to overheat. Now, this can happen in a couple of different ways. Air can get in where the carburetor meets the airbox, or where the airbox meets the engine case, or where the cylinder meets the engine case. But the most common is through a blown crankshaft oil seal. Now, the crankshaft has two seals on it, one behind the flywheel, super easy to get to, but one on the clutch side that is not so super easy to get to. To get to the clutch side seal, you have to break the engine down completely and remove the crankshaft. So that's what I'm doing. So if you have a vintage Vespa and you're riding around town and you come to a stop and all of a sudden your engine just starts taking off, like starts racing despite you not touching the throttle, and maybe you have to let your clutch out a little bit and it calms down, well, that's an air leak. And the engine is getting too lean of a mixture and it can damage it, ultimately by superheating the piston, which can ignite the fuel all on its own, regardless if you shut your scooter off. It's something that actually happened to me on my first Vespa, and it's ultimately what led me down the road to learning how to work on Vespas myself. Now, Val did the right thing, and she stopped riding it because overheating can cause the engine to seize up. And it can lock the rear wheel up while you're riding it and, well, cause a catastrophe. So she parks it, but it sits for some amount of years, and it sits with ethanol fuel in it. Now, if you have a vintage Vespa, you might know about the dangers of ethanol fuel. It can destroy your scooter, and unfortunately, it and time has done this old girl dirty. Basically, ethanol is alcohol that they put in fuel. And look, I'm no scientist, so I'm not going to explain this super well. But basically, the ethanol causes this type of separation where you get water that like sits on top of the fuel, and that water can cause rust inside your gas tank, and the fuel can actually like kind of concentrate into this sticky varnish-like substance, and it'll wreak havoc on these old engines. It'll just eat up carburetors and, well, rot out those steel fuel tanks. And this fuel tank is in horrible condition. The inside of it is like covered in this like black, nasty goo. So it's like that dude from that 70s show who was in the Spider-Man movie, and he gets the black goo all over him, and then he makes him the villain. Well, that evil goo all up in this fuel tank. Matter of fact, it's so bad, I don't even know if I can save it. For now, though, I'm getting the engine broken down, and I'm going to go through it and just replace all the worn out items. So, new seals, gaskets, rubber bits, and cruciform.
Not too bad. The crank web's a little bit pitted. I've been using mineral spirits to clean everything up. I've got a soft plastic bristle brush, and I've got a stainless steel brush. And I'm trying this little method of soaking a rag in mineral spirits and kind of letting it soak on things. And it's working pretty good. Cleaning it up pretty well. This is a little bit of goo stuck in there still. Let's see here. I've also got this little cut of 400 grit sandpaper that I've been keeping wet. And can just kind of real light. Can still feel it a little bit and see it there, but it's really coming out pretty well. Get rid of the rest of this old RTV gasket surface here. Sort of conventional wisdom would tell me that I should really replace this crankshaft. And I can replace it, I believe I can replace it with a P200 crankshaft and a T5 bearing. And then I could swap to a CDI ignition and a P200 flywheel. But I don't believe the owner of the scooter is willing to go for that expense. And I think that this is going to clean up and go back together and be okay. So I'm just going to put it back together and see how she goes. And I mean, it doesn't look great, but this also doesn't really look terrible. It's a little pitted. This is not a performance bike. We're not out there. It's not out there getting after races. This is an around town runner. So I feel like this is going to be all right. I want to get into this web a little bit more and try and just clean some of that up. I think I can mostly just soak it in mineral spirits and maybe run a brush in there somehow. If I can find a brush that'll kind of squeeze in here. Let's see. Oh, not bad actually. Still a little discoloration. I gotta work a little bit more right here. The rest of the jet stack didn't come out. I can see it's still stuck in there. Let's see what else we can not get off of this thing. Oh, it's real sticky. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's a bit of rust and flaky nastiness in there. Oh, there we go. Well, that doesn't really look too bad, actually. There's definitely some, it smells terrible. Ah, there it is. Ooh, it is glued in there. All right, well, that's completely disassembled. Yep. All right, I guess it's time to see if my ultrasonic cleaner works.
time off from working on the scooter because, you know, we had a large cultural event that happens in the city I live in where millions of people fly in from around the world. So I just kind of did that for a little while. But that's over, and now I'm back to work. And I've got the engine all back together for the most part. I made a mistake. I bought the wrong oil seal for the flywheel side, so I had to order an oil seal. I had gotten the carburetor all cleaned up. I ran it through the ultrasonic cleaner, and while the carburetor actually surprisingly looked like it was in pretty good shape, and it's seemingly cleaned up pretty well, I just haven't always had the best of luck when trying to clean up carburetors that have been kind of bogged down with gross old fuel. So I don't know that it'll work. So instead, I bought a new carburetor just in case I can't get this guy to go. I did get the correct flywheel side seal, and SIP had a fuel tank. So I got this. I'm gonna have to throw a coat of primer on, sand the top down, throw some primer on it, and paint it because it's just raw steel. So all that's really left is just the final assembly of the engine. I've got to get the airbox, carburetor all put together, cylinder on, exhaust, all that. I'm going to put it in my running stand and test run the engine there to make sure that this all works, get the engine dialed in before I put it back in the frame. So that's my next goal, is get the engine all back together, get it running, and then all that's left at that point is final assembly on the scooter. Well, it runs. Sorta. Doesn't idle. First thing I did, I got it in the stand, checked to make sure I had spark, checked to make sure I had compression. Obviously got both, mixed some fresh gas up, got it all set up. I kicked it and it wanted to go. It seems like the idle circuit in that carburetor is still pretty clogged, or I don't know, it won't idle at all. But it's running at speed, so I guess I'm gonna throw that other carburetor in. I've got the new one. I'll throw that together, run it, dial it, and then it's going in. Well, I got the engine all back together, running good with the new carburetor. I basically got everything ready to go, and I was going to take it out for a ride. Go shake it down, make sure everything's working properly, do all that stuff. And while I was working on it, or as I got it all set up, I realized I didn't have the key for it. I looked all over the shop and I couldn't find the key anywhere. And so I texted Val and said, hey, you got the key for this, right? And well, sure enough, she did. So I didn't actually get to shake it down or run it before she came over to see it. And we kind of made the assumption that it would, she'd arrive and we'd crank it up and she'd ride away. But, well, fate had, some other deal in store for us. It's hard to shift?
Yeah, I mean, to physically turn the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Not with the clutch or anything?
That's fine.
Okay. Just physically hard to turn it a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably...
It feels really happy.
Okay. All right, well...
But, the speedo's out, too.
Oh, the needle's not... Doesn't
Yeah.
that worked before?
Yeah.
I don't know, take it back in the back. I'll have to figure out why none of the lights work. Well, at least that button works.
It's strong. I forgot how much fun that one is.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We'll have to, I don't know. I'm gonna open everything up and see if I can figure out what's going on. Okay.
That was relatively simple.
It all works. Right now. Put this all back together.
She's just angry. She feels neglected and abused.
Yeah, well, like the rest of us.
Like the rest of us.
Why is it? Ooh, it's hot. Hey. It's fucking hot. Yikes.
Is that not normal?
No, that was super hot.
Wow.
It was just the high-low switch that was hot. And I think it's because, like, just go ahead and rock the switch back and forth. See how it feels, like, real crunchy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just corroded. So I think that it just didn't have a good connection.
Okay.
And then with that bad connection, it just fucking heats up. It just creates resistance and then it gets hot. So what I want to do is clean this up and then put some of that grease on there.
Okay.
So that we make, because all it is, I mean, it's literally this metal bar. So it's, 12 volt passes through this piece of brass into this piece right here that the switch pivots on. Mm-hmm. And then it just makes, that's how it makes its connection. Okay. So if it was just not connected, if it was a little bit loose or whatever,
yeah,
that could have been, might have just been this the whole time.
Would that have affected the running light?
No, the running light was something else.
Okay.
We got multiple
weird things.
Well, they're just corrosion. I think that was all, like, that bulb was like stuck. And I was able to get it out. And I pulled the two tabs forward, the ground and the power tab forward, greased it all up, shoved it back in there, shoved the bulb back in there, and I think it's making better connection. Okay. I think basically nothing was making a good connection. So I just need to clean this up with something.
Will it, if it gets that hot, will it melt that little switch?
Yeah, and there's no fuse anywhere on this thing. So I'm gonna just all burn up and maybe catch on fire.
That happened to my Stella.
It's fine.
You just run away.
Exactly. Tube in here that this is. There's just rust on it. And I think it's just corrosion. I think it's from. I mean, I should have probably, I mean, this thing could really use a pretty much a pretty fresh takedown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this will probably be all right. I think. That already feels better to me.
Good.
This is just like a dry graphite lube for like locks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's got I put a gallon gas in it.
Okay.
So it's got a gallon of non-ethanol mixed fuel. All right, let's see if we got any success. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the resurrection of Val's 1974 Rally. Something tells me you're going to see this scooter roll through my shop again. Electrical has a funny way of not working all the time. Hey, click the old like and subscribe. All these old ladies you see me pushing back into the shop gonna get their day real soon. See you on the next one. Ciao.